This is a Fox News alert. A draft report by Republican members of the House Intelligence Committee says that there is, quote, no evidence of collusion, coordination, or conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russians. That's the result of 14 months of investigation. Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson tonight. The new report we just referred to found no evidence of collusion. It did warn that America was woefully unprepared to check Russian meddling efforts and has done little to improve since then. It also blasts our top intelligence officials for leaking to the media. The 150-page report will now be reviewed by Democrats and intelligence officials before it is released to the public. Congressman Mike Conaway is a Republican representing Texas. He led the investigation by House Republicans into Russian meddling, and he joins us in the studio tonight. Congressman, thanks for coming on.
Tucker, good to be with you.
So is the report as definitive as we just suggested on the question of collusion?
Collusion. It is, Tucker. We've interviewed 73 witnesses. We looked at 300,000+ documents to try to find what there might be. We've seen some perhaps meetings that were inappropriate or ill-advised to have taken. We've seen some chance coincidences where people bump into each other at various places, but no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians or the Clinton campaign and the Russians.
Now, are you satisfied that you saw enough intelligence gathered by our intel agencies to make that judgment?
Well, we made the judgment based on our own investigation of witnesses. We've interviewed, like I said, 73 witnesses looking for that thread that would lead us to a collusion, conspiracy, or coordination. We asked every witness that, and we found no evidence that anything like that was going on.
So Adam Schiff today, who would be the ranking Democrat on the committee, released a statement calling this report, and I'm quoting, a tragic milestone.
He hadn't read it yet. So
right. Well, he says it short circuits an investigation that he implies is just getting going.
Well, 14 months is not just getting going. Like I said, we've done the work we believe is necessary to answer the 4 questions. We had a pretty narrow scope. It did not include collusion, did not include a lot of things that perhaps the Dems would like to chase down. It had 4 questions. We had 4 questions to answer, and we think we've done the relevant investigation to answer those questions.
Huh. So you must have learned a lot about the story more broadly. It sounds like you did after all of that time. You say that the intel agencies released their famous report, the 17 so-called intelligence agencies, saying that the Putin government favored Trump. And you're saying that's not correct?
Well, first off, it's 3 agencies. The 17 agencies.
I'm aware. That's why I said so-called. But that is the talk of the 17, including the Coast Guard and all the rest.
Yeah,
but it was 3. I'm aware.
John Podesta one time because he was trying to pitch that 17 agencies.
I hear it every night.
I'm pretty confident the NRO had no.
Yeah, I got that.
So the 3 that did, 98% of what they did on that ICA we agree with. We had 2 trained analysts and 2 trained professionals go through that with a fine-tooth comb, all of the underlying documents, some thousands of pages of documents to go through. And the piece about Trump, but the Putin purported preference for Trump, we think is not supported by the evidence that was available throughout the entire process.
Why would they say that?
We'll have to ask them, but we believe that we disagree with them. That thing started early December and was finished in January, coinciding with an attack on the Trump presidency throughout that time frame by other issues, things going on.
Yes.
And this seemed to underpin that narrative that somehow Putin had more effect on the election than he should have, and it should delegitimatize the Trump presidency. Easy for you to say. The Trump presidency. It was part of that narrative.
But the intel agencies are taking at face value because, as we're often reminded by Democrats, they're the final word on what's true. Well, it sounds almost like a political statement they were making.
Well, it looks like, but like I said, 98% of what they did in the ICA we think is the tradecraft. There is tradecraft associated with analytics, and that was properly followed. But just on that one piece about Putin's alleged preference for Trump, it was not supported by the.
I've never been clear on the underlying questions that undergird all of this, and that would be the hacking of the DNC servers and of John Podesta's Gmail account. And I asked the ranking Democrat on your committee, Adam Schiff, about this and couldn't get a straight answer. Are we absolutely positive that the Russian government was behind stealing that data?
I believe we're as positive as you can be in the circumstances where attribution is very difficult. But I'm comfortable believing that the Russian government was behind the hackers that did all this, the agency, IRA, whether the entities that were doing it were done. It was done on behalf of the Russian government, if not on behalf of or directly by. So I'm comfortable making that statement. Again, attribution is very difficult in cyber world.
Will this convince anyone? Will the press, will MSNBC tomorrow say, you know what, we've been wrong for the last year?
Exactly. You know, when throughout this whole time frame, I've been saying privately, because nobody's ever seen me on TV before tonight, to you guys and earlier, that there'll be some people agree with what we've said, some people disagree. What I want the report to stand on its own, so that folks say Conaway didn't have his thumb on the scale, Schiff didn't have his thumb on the scale, put as much of the underlying documentation in there as we possibly can so that readers can decide for themselves whether or not we did a thorough investigation and what we based our conclusions on, then let the American people make up their own mind. The real issue, though, is we've got elections starting right now. We had the Texas primary last week. We've got an election tomorrow. This is a big deal that we don't want the Russians or anyone interfering inappropriately with our election process. And so getting these conclusions out, beginning to have that conversation with the American people during this election season for 2018 is really important. And that helped just get us to where we are right now.
Yeah, there's a lot we don't know, but you've confirmed what we've suspected all along, which is the collusion narrative was a lie. So
if the Democrats have additional evidence that they're not showing us, that they make reference to over and over, that they do have evidence that this drafting process will start in the morning, we'll have a chance to
put it let's see it. We can make up our own minds. Congressman, thank you for that. I appreciate the summary.
Thank you.
Thanks.